Good morning, world. Very often we hear people talk about counseling in terms of them saying, "Hey, I did go, but it didn't work out," or "I did go, but I didn't get anything out of it." And that is why today we're talking about 5 ways to get the most benefit out of your counseling sessions. First is to have a purpose that matters to you. A lot of times what happens is someone will go to counseling because whether it's because they're mandated, or most people don't go because they're mandated, but sometimes people will go because of something that happened at home and agreements they made with friends or family, but don't have a real purpose. They're going because someone else said they had to go, as opposed to because they believe or they wanted to do this. So make sure that you have a purpose that matters to you, because when you're investing this time, all this effort and sometimes even money with taking the time to go to counseling, it's important to be working on something that makes a difference to you, something that matters to you, because that helps you be a little bit more motivated to actually work on whatever it is that you're working on. 2, go with someone you're comfortable with. More often than not, people end up going, they call the insurance company, or they get a referral from a friend or from wherever, or maybe sometimes from their doctor. They get that one referral and they go with that therapist. But if you're not comfortable with that therapist, it's important to remember that you have options. Not every therapist style works for every person. So if you go in to see someone and realize, you know what, we're not gelling, or this person's methods don't work for me, it's important to know that you have the option of first addressing it with the therapist. Hey, I'm not sure this is for me. I'm not sure this style works for me. And if necessary, go to make the decision to check someone else out. Because as you're doing the work, the relationship with your therapist plays a major role in how you receive what you're learning, how you receive the work, or how you invest in the work that you're doing. So make sure you go with someone you're comfortable with. 3, be open and speak up. It's very important that you are very open and speak up in your therapy sessions, because it's about you. The therapist is there for you. Their only purpose in being there at that time is you. So it's important that you're able to speak up. If you were looking for something specific and you're not getting that, say that. If what you're working on is not necessarily what you want to work on, say that. Whatever it is that you want or don't want, whatever it is that you like or dislike about your counseling, it's important that you communicate that with your therapist. And if the therapist is asking you to do certain tasks, or asking you to work on certain things, and you're not ready or you're not comfortable, address that, because it's better to speak up and tell the therapist, hey, this is not working for me, or I'm not ready for this, as opposed to you going and saying, yeah, I'll do this, and then you go home and you don't do it. And when you come back, people don't usually just tell you, hey, I didn't do it because I wasn't comfortable or because I didn't want to. They usually come up with a valid excuse as to why it didn't get done. Like, yeah, I got stuck at work. Yeah, this, that, and the other. But instead, just say, hey, I wasn't ready to go there. Because when you do that, the therapist can work with you in getting ready to go there or getting to that point. But if you don't say anything, they don't know. 4, do whatever it is that you commit to doing in between sessions. More often than not, you'll end up having kind of homework, because you're with your therapist once a week, and that's when you have the great insurance, or that's at most cases it's once a week. So that means you have the rest, I think it's 164 hours or whatever the rest of the week is, that you're on your own, that you're not doing, that the therapist is not there. So it's important that whatever it is that you're working on, whatever it is that you're committing to doing, whatever ways that you are agreeing to practice or apply changes into your daily life, it's important that you take the time and do that, so that you when you come back into session, it's like, hey, this works. No, this doesn't work. But if you didn't do it during the week, you don't know what does or doesn't work for you. 5, go with the lasting change instead of the Band-Aid. A lot of times people use counseling as more of a crisis intervention. It's like they're doing really bad today, so they rush and get a therapist, and then after a couple sessions where they are feeling a little bit better, they start trying to cancel. They start being less engaged in the therapy. But what happens in those situations is yeah, the first couple of sessions did get you into a stable state, but the most important piece is to address whatever issues that had you so hurting, that had you so in such crisis that you actually sought out the therapist. So it's important that you stick through it, that you stick with it, that you follow through so that you get the lasting change, as opposed to that quick band-aid that within a few weeks, months, or something, maybe even years if you're lucky, when the issue comes back, you have to go back to seeing a therapist again. Let's do a quick recap because I know that was long. 1, have a purpose that matters to you, something that you can commit to and want to invest in. 2, go with someone you're comfortable with, because your relationship with your therapist does make a big difference in how well and how committed you are to your counseling. 3, be open and speak up. Tell your therapist what you need, and of course, if something does not work for you, make sure you tell them that as well. 4, do whatever it is that you commit to doing between sessions, because that is where the real work gets done. That's what helps you make the lasting changes. And finally, go with the lasting change and not just the band-aid, because the lasting change helps you for a lifetime, but the band-aid is only good for, a few weeks, maybe a few months if you're lucky. And as always, if you're struggling with something that's more than you can handle, please do reach out and get help, because there's a lot of help out there. And that is all we have for today. Good morning, world. Have an awesome day.